And we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are joined by another British friend, Zen Chan, today. We also have our regular co-host, Kiza GT, and the carnal conservative from America. Today we're going to be talking specifically about not just the lockdown itself, but the failures of the government and the NHS to do constructive things to end it. So we're going to start with our esteemed guest, Zen Chan. Zen Chan, how are you today, my friend?
Oh, you speak too highly of me. Hello, I'm doing okay. Been having a lazy day, to be honest. Um, just I'm doing okay. Yeah.
Well, that was verbose and informative. I'm going to remind the chat, if you would like, you can pop open the Entropy link that I'm putting in chat right now. Over on Entropy, you can give us financial gifts, and you can leave questions and comments for us that we will be going over later in the show. You can find that at Entropy. And here's the link. Over on Entropy, the question widget is on the left-hand side. You can type in comments and questions, like I said earlier, for me, for the co-hosts, or the guest. And we'll be getting to those later after the topics that we cover today. Speaking of the topics we're going to cover today, we're going to put those off for just a minute. We're going to give people time to filter in here. We'll be starting here in a few minutes. So let's take the time and go around and introduce ourselves. I think most of the people here know who I am. I am Yiz the Eunuch. And we're going to start with our co-host, Kiza GT. Kiza, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well, enjoying the cooler temperatures.
You are an engineer by trade, correct, sir?
Yes, engineering graduate.
All right. We'll be getting back to that later when we talk about how the lockdown has affected things. Carnal conservative, you are my friend. You live in the southern United States, more central southern than I am. And you work in private security, correct?
Yes, and it's lovely. I actually upgraded my license, and in lieu of not finding any acceptable work with that license, I'm probably going to dabble in some bounty hunting.
Boy, you got a license for that bounty hunting.
That sounds lucrative and dangerous and fun. A nice combination of the three.
Well, it's very simple. You find a bail bondsman who has needed to issue a warrant for someone they don't want to cover anymore, and you go find them.
I'm vaguely familiar. All right, and Zen Chan. I know that Zen Chan is a professional bartender by trade, but you also went to university for a while, didn't you?
No. As I said before, I never went to university.
Oh, you never did? I thought you did and then dropped out. My bad.
No. I went to college for 3 years, and technically, I'm not a bartender by trade. I dropped out to be a bartender, and then switched to being a night hotel porter for
okay.
about 3 years. It literally just because it was the only place that I could find at the time. I was sick of college. It wasn't really teaching me anything. It was just somewhere to hang around. So I thought.
So you're a young gentleman. You're in your 20s, aren't you?
23. Aye.
23. I believe you're the youngster of the crew today.
Damn fucking Zoomers.
Well, I see that Zen is a true man of culture.
Yes, a man of culture.
I am the oldest a Zoomer can be. I think I'm literally up against the wall.
Are you a millennial Zoomer cusp?
Pretty much. But I am thankfully.
What a shit place to be.
Well, I mean, I'm classified as a millennial, but I don't like being called a millennial. So, can I say I'm an early Zoomer?
I don't think anyone does like to be called a millennial, even the ones that are kind of like cooked to it.
Well, I mean, I'm a few years away from the Zoomer tag, so.
But I'm currently jobless, as I kind of lost my job with the Corona stuff that's going on. So I'm currently hunting as best I can.
Yeah. Damn you, China. Pay us what you owe us.
That's something I'd like to talk about in another stream potentially. But honestly, I think we should prioritize blaming our own government before we even talk about China.
Yes. Let's blame the fake Brit known as Boris Johnson.
I think Boris's problem is that he's far too British.
I don't know. He seems to be sort of British on purpose in a lot of ways, and it's kind of disingenuous.
He's the side of British that's kind of like cooked and too polite for their own good, is the best way I can put it.
So what you're saying is he's British or British.
Nah, to be honest, he's just a Monty Python skit that went way too long.
That's a much better way to put it.
And I don't mean that in an affectionate way.
All right.
Man.
So let's go ahead and get started with our first line of discussion here today. Like I said earlier when the stream started, for those of you just joining in, today we're going to be talking about the blunders and failures of the government and the NHS in righting the wrongs of the lockdown fiasco. So today we're going to start with a line of thinking or topic that our esteemed guest, Mr. Zen, has to share with us today. How about you start us off with a particular topic or article, and we'll just take the conversation from there. I'll turn it over to you, Zen.
Okay, so just about 10 hours ago is the article I have, so I try to get it updated. Essentially, it has been announced that we have absolutely royally screwed up our figures regarding coronavirus hospitalization. So that's not deaths to coronavirus, but that is very much in question now because of this. This isn't how many people have the coronavirus. This is how many people have the coronavirus and then had to go to hospital for it. Apparently, this has been massively overcalculated because essentially, if anyone went to hospital and had in the past at any point been diagnosed with coronavirus, they got slapped with they've been to hospital because of coronavirus. Even if it was like 3 months ago that they were diagnosed, it's been a serious problem with inflation, and it calls into question literally everything that they have done. The government, that is, everything they've done where they've said, oh, there is an increase of cases in this area, we need to lock things down. With now it seems more like, no, some people had to go to hospital, and in the past they were diagnosed with a minor case of it. That's it. I mean, we got to the point where just a few days ago, my area, which is Gateshead, we got told there's 14 cases, we might have to lock you all down. And I'm like, right, okay. Really? So yeah, do you have anything on that, Kizza?
Let's go to Kizza first. Since he's the
I
local
did
Brit.
actually see the reports on this, and to be fair, I'm not surprised whatsoever. And it makes me laugh how people said it was conspiracy to say that coronavirus numbers are being inflated, when months ago in the United States we had actual evidence of such a problem, of the very thing happening as well.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm going to pass that. I'm not at all surprised that this happened. I'm massively surprised they had the balls to admit it.
I hear you clicking through something. You pulling something up to add to that?
That's not me.
Oh
No, that was me. I'm turning up the volume because I have booby ears.
Yeah,
okay.
but also,
if anyone knows how to look at statistics, because a lot of graphs in this, and I'm getting confused by all the numbers, because again, I'm effectively a college dropout. If anyone knows how to parse this is the article in question that was released about 10 hours ago ish.
Okay, let me have a look at this. There's the Daily Mail, so I'm very skeptical when anything comes out of the Daily Mail. But
that's fair if you can find a better source, but this is the only one I can get on them.
Actually, no. Let me just let me just try and have a look at that thing on my end. Hold on.
Fair enough.
Because I remember seeing an article where it showed that people were dead. Basically, people who were infected, quote unquote, people died who were overwhelmingly above 65.
Yeah.
Well, so far, even with the inflated number of deaths from New York and California, just basically marking everything as a COVID death, even with all of that, the average age of corona death in America is 79, which is the same average year of death anyway. So it's like there's really, even with all the inflated numbers, it's not like corona's a big killer and just wiping people out here. It's total horseshit for this lockdown. I'm not saying I'm not saying the virus is horseshit. I don't think anybody thinks that. It's just, yes, it's a bad flu-like thing. Yes, it has some major worries over the usual flu we deal with, but overall, it's not much bigger of a threat than just a regular bad flu season. And swine flu was a lot worse. H1N1 was a lot worse. SARS was a lot worse. We didn't destroy our economies over those. So it's total horseshit for us to destroy our economy over something like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and speaking of the economic damage in the UK in the second quarter, the UK economy shrunk by 20.4%. Now, to put that into context for people listening, the UK economy shrunk 25% from 2007 to 2009. So we've done 80% of the damage within a 3-month window instead of 2 years.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's been pretty bad in America too. It's been we've been going worse into debt by like $1 trillion a month. It's been fucking brutal.
Oh yes, it is brutal, and
it is only worsening the Keynesian nightmare that we were already in.
Oh yes, of course. And what makes me laugh about all of this is how certain people seem to think this is a perfect argument in favor of socialism. And I wish I was joking on that.
I literally have a meme about that. I'll pop it in the server in a bit.
Yeah, but this will make me laugh. It's like, hold on, you shut down your economy, you literally tell businesses to stop doing business, and this is what happens to your economy. And people are like, oh, but the whole freaking furlough system, people were being paid. Yeah, you were being paid by borrowed money, and then people complain about where the money's been going off to certain people in tax havens and all that. I'm like, are you not bloody surprised? This is exactly why a lot of us, especially me included, are against Keynesian intervention economics.
Yeah.
And there were lots of economists who basically said, and I quote, why should companies who had a major freaking safe full of money that they had tucked away in case things go wrong be punished because companies ran basically right on the ragged edge of finances?
Because they don't want the small man to fail. That's going to be the argument for everything. Is it's hurting the little guy, and yet who's getting the big federal bailouts?
Exactly.
It's Amazon.
Well, I mean,
Walmart.
hurting the little guy is the goal. This Jason Kuna talks about the anti-white narrative, and I do like that phrase. But when it comes to economy, it's not necessarily about white. It's about what takes away from the New World Order multinational corporate power, and predominantly that is European-owned small businesses in the private and small business sector all throughout the West. They want to smash us. They want to crush us. They want everybody to have to rely on multinational corporations for everything, because then they can control who gets to sit at the table, who has a voice, who gets to earn a living, that kind of shit. That's the goal of this. That's what the New World Order wants. It doesn't want successful small business people anymore. It only wants government-regulated mega business.
Yeah.
And also, what makes me laugh is the simple fact when it comes to all these lockdowns, the lockdowns are not working. Yeah, the reason the lockdowns are not working is because you didn't lock down the very important thing which allowed the virus to spread to begin with, the little thing called international borders and travel. If you were to do that, the coronavirus numbers would not reach the rates that we see today. Because look at countries like South Korea.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, don't go to church, bigot. Don't go eat, bigot. You're not allowed to go to work, but we're still going to keep flooding our country with filthy migrants, and we're going to let Mignogs and Antifa run wild through our streets and protest shoulder to shoulder, 1,000 strong for months in a row. It's insanity, and I don't know how anyone can't see that. It's just it boils my blood talking about this shit. It makes me so mad.
I know. It just makes me laugh when you have studies claiming that BLM protests did not give a spike in coronavirus victims. When if you look at the spike, when you look at the data, it clearly shows after the George Floyd freaking protest, there was a distinct spike 2 weeks later.
Yep.
Are you seriously going to tell me this virus is smart enough to not infect certain people at certain venues then? Are we saying the virus is completely sentinel and can infect certain people whenever they choose to will?
Are we saying
I believe
the
only answer is I believe the only answer is like you just said, the virus must be racist. Just ask CNN. Ask CNN and The Guardian, they'll tell you.
Well, I was just going to say, did China, ironically enough, create Fox dye? Anyone that's a Metal Gear Solid fan will understand the joke there.
Well,
good one.
But then again, if these people saying it affects certain groups, then surely our enemies will be all in favor of their voting bloc not going out and protesting, but ideally wanting the opposition to protest and do all that stuff so they can naturally die out.
now
But that's
that brings up another interesting paradigm. Why aren't the British treating migrants coming over on boats like plague rats?
Well, I can answer that. You could blame the Dublin Agreement and the 1951 UN Convention of Refugees Act from the UN.
Oh yeah, like
sorry,
sorry.
go.
No.
Go. All right, because technically under the UN's Migration Act, those people on those boats coming to the UK to seek asylum is technically legal. And the only way that would be illegal is if the UK government were to pull out from the UN Refugee Act, even though the UK was one of the founding members. And then by doing that, all those things would be technically illegal migrants, and then they could be very aggressive to them.
So it sounds like the UK needs a little more Americanism.
No, I'm just not necessarily. I would argue.
Me and Carnal always trying to get people to jock up and make a constitution and buy some guns.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but
Amen.
Just remember, you learned all that from us, so don't forget.
Well,
anyway,
well, you stopped shouting for God and country how many years ago?
Hey! Unlike you guys, we technically have a state-sponsored church, whereas you guys don't. I remember that's technically unconstitutional.
And I know what that church has been saying. You're better off without it.
Yeah. But then again, I would argue the church is not very British anyway because it's a foreign church by default. But anyway,
please elaborate.
Oh well, basically, technically speaking, Christianity originated in the Middle East, and that's technically a foreign ideology, and therefore it is not British.
So I thought I'd just bring this up.
Yes, sorry. So
to the Americans and like the non-Brits, how much are you aware of these bloody dinghies that are just flooding into the country? Because I'm not seeing it in like newspapers that much. Whereas most of the time when I hear about it from talk radio, which is a bit obscure. So how much do you guys actually know about that?
Well, I'm in the South, sort of, so they're not coming to my shore.
No.
Yeah, I'm landlocked, and in America, I think that the worst problem that we have with migration is illegal on the southern border, closer to California and Arizona, and then with legal migration through work visas. That's our primary immigration problems, at least from the numbers that I see.
No, but I mean, like, how aware of like what's going on in England right now? Is what I meant. Like, are you aware?
Oh. You mean with the boats coming in and everything? That's what you're talking about? I'm pretty aware, but you talk about it. You probably know more than I do because you live there.
Well, essentially, as Nigel Farage has unveiled to us, using just basically sitting on the coast of Dover with a camera and just watching, we are having record numbers of dinghies just pouring into the country. Now, I can't officially say that all of us being forced into our homes and basically banned from protests is connected to it, but I also can't say it's unconnected. So, it's almost like there's a bit of advantage being taken while we literally are basically incapable of criticizing the government. But not only are they being just sort of welcomed in with absolutely no holds barred, we are also at governmental expense just putting them up in hotels. It's pretty wild. We've basically everyone has been playing pass the buck with this. So we've got big companies, and I can't remember the names of them, I do apologize, but big companies that basically get paid by the public. It's not public office, it's the Home Office, to basically put these people up and sort them out. And whenever anyone questions these companies, so could you give us statistics? How many of these people are there? How many people keep coming in? They keep going, it's got nothing to do with us. Go and ask the Home Office. And then the Home Office will be like, well, go and ask them. And it's
This
literally
is exactly what Nigel Farage has been bringing attention to, right?
Yes. We basically are getting almost no information on how many people are coming in, but there's been some interesting stuff. Like, one of the migrants apparently literally filmed himself on Twitter just throwing away all his identification into the water, which basically makes it illegal to deport him because now we don't know where the hell he's from.
Well, I don't know. I would argue a 23andMe test would give you the answer to that.
I'd agree, but that might end up with me being deported to Ireland. So
Let's pause here for a second. I'd like to go over a super chat that we got over on Entropy. And speaking of Entropy, for those listening, that is where you can give us financial gifts, and you can post your questions and ideas for the panel in the question widget over on the left, and we'll address those later in the show. Sin of Pride says, this whole thing just strikes me as an exercise in public doublethink. So many examples. BLM versus lockdown protesters, holidays versus migration, etc., etc. Anybody want to respond to that before I do? I'd be glad to let someone else go first.
Well, have you heard of Yuri Bezmenov?
Yes, I have, friend. I think I've heard of that once or twice.
There was a lovely Call of Duty trailer. Go ahead. Go to Call of Duty. Go to Call of Duty and learn about Yuri. Yes, it is clearly doublethink. It is clearly like trying to discombobulate and demoralize the populace. That's obvious.
Of all the companies, I would not expect Activision to hand out a massive red pill to the gaming audience.
To be fair, it may not be Activision, but Treyarch themselves, because they're the ones who are behind the Black Ops section.
Entirely possible, and I've always loved Treyarch, so
Sin of Pride calls it doublethink. Before we move much further, I'd like to address that I think it's gaslighting from the media more than anything else, because if it wasn't for the constant, ever-present gaslighting by media, pundits, and speakers of our politicians, which are basically the corporate, or the government mouthpieces for corporate media, they are pushing this ridiculous narrative of how bad the virus is. They're spreading bad information. They're silencing people that have information to add counter to the narrative. And it's gaslighting of the most egregious degree that I have ever seen. And I think that's the focus of the source of the problem, in my opinion, is that.
Well, I don't see Americans putting up with it for too much longer. Like, I really don't think that come November, this will help the people who want to be in power get in power.
Well, I mean, if you believe what the opposition is saying in America, they're happy with this virus so it can destroy the economy, so it goes against Trump, which ultimately proves that they are ultimately traitors. And I wish those clips should be Donald should just take those clips and reshare them every single day and repeat those words so nobody can claim he is lying, because then he can quote, here's the proof, now go ahead and fucking denounce it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And keep on imposing the word traitor, because you know what they say, it's not propaganda if you tell the truth.
Indeed.
Propaganda is just any material and stuff presented with specifically to push a message. Pretty much anything can be propaganda, whether it's true or not.
I already had this argument the other day, and technically, no, propaganda has to be of a misleading nature.
Does it?
Telling the truth by default is not propaganda.
Well, I mean, I'm not even using a modern definition of propaganda. I'm using it as I learned it when I was a kid back in the 80s. Propaganda is a message or messaging, whether in spoken or written form, that presents material and icons specifically to advance an ideology or political cause. That's how I learned it when I was young, from encyclopedias. And those encyclopedias were from 1967. So it at least meant that back then. So I don't know if it means something different now.
Well, as I understood it, propaganda was pushing information of a misleading nature.
Okay. I would disagree with that, because I don't think propaganda is a bad word. I think it's a neutral word. Just like you can have propaganda for pro-life or pro-choice or anti-life, as me and Carnal say.
Well,
You can have propaganda for your favorite sports team. You can have propaganda for whatever. Like I guess sports team's a bad example. That's not an ideology or a political group. But it's like LGBT propaganda is just you can put up a sign that says, "Hey, love fags, don't kill them." Like that's not false. That's just you presenting an emotional message to further a cause. Like it's just I don't necessarily think propaganda has to be misleading in nature.
I would tend to agree with Yiz because we have to understand that things swing both ways, and that the word propaganda was demonized because, well, Nazis did it, but then you have to understand that
Well,
the
Soviets
collateral
too. Like
damage.
in America specifically, Soviet propaganda got so heavily villainized for decades. Like I think
Yes,
I think
but
that more than Nazi stuff is why it's got a negative stink on it here.
yes, but also that has come back as they redefine that term as something that's inherently false and negative. It's come back to America saying, "Oh, this is American nationalist propaganda," and that's why I'm more keen on the neutral definition rather than the falsehood
I agree
definition.
with you that that's how it's used today, and that's what gives a lot of people, especially younger than us, a negative concept of what that word means. Maybe people always have, and I'm just too smart for my own good. I don't fucking know.
You probably yes, just yes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, there is the old saying that if people are such bad things, they wouldn't have to lie about them.
Well, that's why propaganda should be neutral, and I don't think propaganda does necessarily have to include a lie. It's just information that is clearly biased and is intended to drive you in a direction. I don't think the lie is inherent in propaganda.
Yeah, touche. But on that point, going back to the whole coronavirus thing regarding lockdowns, it still makes me laugh how the countries that have done the best are ironically all the countries which are close to China and decide to shut their borders from the very beginning.
How's Sweden doing? Is Sweden, like, I keep hearing people say, "Oh, Sweden took a bad turn. It turns out they were wrong all along." I'm assuming that's fake news, but
Well, from what I understand, based on the information I could get, Sweden did initially have the worst rates of infection based on per capita rates.
Mhm.
But then apparently, whether this is true or not, because the Swedish officials are full of leftists and they care more about image than telling the truth. Apparently, their infections all of a sudden dropped like a rock from space.
right.
Now, it wasn't just a natural drop; it was basically going such a direction straight, and then it just falls flat.
Right.
Something sounds a little dodgy there.
Yeah. Fair enough. But I'd heard from people that
Actually,
Sweden basically hadn't locked down at all and that they'd been
look,
doing great. But
well, they
propaganda and
definitely
all that.
did. Well, they definitely didn't lock down. That is true. And
They,
apparently,
they
somebody in
didn't
the
lock
chat
down
is
hardly at all. They
Swedish.
just observed responsible social distancing just to sort of slow down any possible encroachment of the virus, and it went fine. Yeah, they've had some corona problems, but like every place has, and I don't think they're any worse off than anybody else. And I think that they did fine, and the most important thing is they didn't fucking nosedive their economy into the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that is true, but also, I don't think Swedish economy was doing that great anyway. I know they were basically on the verge of a collapse by default because of their fucking outrageous social programs and the amount of money they're pumping into fucking fake into so-called refugees, where they took in, I think it was like 250,000 refugees in the last 5 years.
Yeah. I
And
think I watched a stream by Sargon and Arch, I think was in it, where they just watched like a documentary like video about some of these like people that are brought in. They've just been given a house and they just get like basically income tier money, and it's just like Christ. Oh man, I should move to Sweden. I should tell them I'm a refugee from my tyrannic government, and they'll give me a lovely house to live in.
Help!
well,
I'm being repressed.
well, Zen, you say that, but they may not be able to give you a house because they've got a massive housing crisis. From
Oh,
what I was,
wonderful.
No, because I think it's Angry Foreigner who's the main guy I go to when it comes to stuff matters regarding Sweden. I think from a Swedish news source, they found that I think this was an interview with a refugee, and he said that you know, talking about housing, saying there's nowhere to house people, and it turned out from a Swedish news source that Sweden had a 20-year waiting list on housing.
Oh,
20 years?
Yeah.
Yes, because of the massive influx of refugees. Because
Good
Sweden,
Lord.
remember, is not a very big country by size. It's also pretty far up north. I mean, hell, part of it's in the Arctic Circle, and also there's so many million people there.
But doesn't Britain have a much higher influx of migrants? So wouldn't they have a much more challenging
Yes,
time with housing?
yeah, but just remember, yes, I think Sweden. Let me double check Sweden's population quick. Sweden population.
I just went to search up Angry Foreigner's channel, and the first thing I see is tourists are not safe in Sweden, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, I'm back. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, Sweden has a population of 10.23 million people, and they brought in 250,000 people, versus Britain, which is 68 million, and they bring in net 300,000 a year.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so by per capita rates, that is vastly worse.
Good. Ooey.
Yeah, so yeah, an Angry Foreigner is great. If anyone doesn't know who he is, you should check him out.
I
don't know if I've listened to him before or not. Let me go pop him open real quick and see if I know him.
You should know him because he's the one who made this meme about Sweden being the #1 rape capital of Europe.
Oof.
And he proved that with official statistics from the government.
It was Sweden that released that one ad where it was like a
yeah, I've seen this guy before. I've seen some of his stuff. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Zen. Go ahead, my bad.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, is it Sweden where they had that one like weird ad where like this white family aren't feeling safe in their town, so they have to basically run off to another town to live in?
Yeah, I mean,
that's Sweden.
That's Sweden, yeah. I mean, and I did a video that I will go ahead and link for everyone in the chat. It's called The Multiculturalism Question. It was one of my recent Yiz talks where I specifically bring up Sweden of Stockholm, Malmo, and Gothenburg, I believe, are the three cities having the worst problems with it. And Malmo, Sweden, and Gothenburg have had horrific problems with crime, housing, prices of prices of real estate going up. They're having white flight problems, regular Swedish folk leaving. It's pretty bad. And I bring that up at the beginning of this video that I'll share here.
Yes.
Haven't they been having, of all things, grenade attacks is like a significant problem they've been having? And
I can answer that, actually. I think it was 2 years ago. There was a report saying that Sweden had more grenade attacks than Chicago.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with grenade attacks being a thing in America. Carnal, have you ever heard of that? I've never heard of that.
No, but I openly endorse it. Holy shit!
Yeah. Hold on.
Sorry.
Hear me out. The more dangerous you allow the populace to be, the more the less the government tends to try to step.
What Carnal's trying to say is he's a Second Amendment purist like me. The concept of the Second Amendment is to let the people be as dangerous as any invading force. So by that token, we should have cruise missiles and Abrams tanks if we want them as private citizens.
I understand that wording, but the problem there becomes that if it's still illegal, then that just means the criminals are the ones.
That's exactly where I was going with it, man.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Carnal's not endorsing only criminals doing it. He's saying if grenade attacks are going to be a thing, then grenades and everything else should be legal to let everybody have the same playing field, and then maybe shit would not be so crazy.
But yeah, gotta say, as a Brit, hearing something like
recreational nukes. I like that, Dragon Fat.
Yeah, as a Brit, hearing something like there's been something like Sweden is the grenade attack capital of the world, or I swear I saw an article about that like a year ago or something, and I sit here like, well, Jesus Christ, the worst we really have in England is like sawn-off shotguns, because they're like apparently that's like the worst of like gun problems we have. I think someone in my area once had a crossbow, and that was it. But it's like that's so foreign to me. Is the best way to put it. It's just like wow.
And
That-
you should
that
take all of your
happens.
sporting weapons, every single one, line up on the shores, and target practice with plague boats.
So what you're saying is we need to use cricket bats against the dinghies.
No,
See,
Shaun of the
said
Dead thought as
sport
well.
weapons is like the like in Britain, the only gun culture you have is like fox hunting or some shit like that.
don't
Like
forget clay shooting. Clay shooting's quite a big thing here.
skeet shooting is awesome. Like
Skeet,
I,
skeet.
I, I
Like clay
rock,
shooting.
I rock
Yeah,
skeet.
Yeah,
I am
mean,
quite
to be
handy with a dart.
Skeet shooting's fun. I've shot clay pigeons a lot. They're really fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but on that point, I mean, yeah, I mean, to be fair though, there's very few people who I know who I personally trust with a gun, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Like I
It's
wouldn't
not about
trust.
trust. It's not about trust. It's about your own personal protection. Yeah, you don't trust
Yeah.
them, but that's why you have your own.
Yes, and this is why I do say, to kind of piss off the Second Amendment absolutists here, I'd argue anyone who's against the Second Amendment should have no right, who should have no protections from the Second Amendment.
Again,
But that's
the Wild West was a wonderful time. Don't threaten me with it.
no.
Yeah.
Connor,
People
you
talk
don't understand
about
my point.
people talk
Connor, you
about
don't-
that kind of shit like society breaking down and things being like the old west is what would happen. And old school Americans like me and Cardinal are like, that actually kind of works for us.
Not gonna lie, Red Dead is a fun game.
Well, no. What
Oh, it's a
most
great
people
game,
don't
isn't it? It's a great
understand.
game.
What most people don't understand about the Wild West is that even though it was at times you had large flare-ups of violence, it was largely polite because you knew anything could happen the next moment.
Well, that's true, but no. What I meant, Carno, is I'm not sure if you misunderstood me. Was what I mean is people who are against the Second Amendment, like our fellow Democrats are. I'm saying that they get they have no access to guns by default. They automatically forfeited it, and also they can't be protected by people who support the Second Amendment. So that means private security, the police, the military, etc. They're basically on their own.
Are you demanding that the left live up to their own principles? You damn radical.
No, Carno. All I'm saying is that you take an idea and you follow it to its logical conclusion.
So
Well, yes, but you can't do that in a vacuum. You have to abide by the laws of power. This is Machiavelli. It's not Kant. It's Machiavelli.
So I was about to say we've slightly slid off from the topics of the stream.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's navigate back.
I thought,
yes, Fatsock.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say, should we slide into the second topic I had, which is the government
Yes, absolutely
trying to fix the problem they've caused, and just wondering at how much the government doesn't understand capitalism, because they've tried to fix it and tried to make people come back to restaurants because they're one of the biggest sort of people struggling right now, and it's just all screwed up. So, Carl Conservative, how much do you know about the Eat Out to Help Out scheme?
I know next to nothing because
this is great. This is a Keynesian nightmare. Let's let one of our Brits take the reins on this one.
Lay it on
Go
me.
ahead, Sam.
Okay, so basically, if you go into any restaurant, and I say restaurant here loosely because it is literally any establishment where you walk in, take a seat, eat in that seat, and then leave. So you could do this to McDonald's, and that's technically covered by this scheme. You walk in there, you order whatever you want, and so long as, and Kiz actually correct me on this, so according to the government website, it says a maximum of £10 per diner, but Kiz says in some places that cap does not apply. In some places, it's no matter what you're eating. You will get 50% off, which means you go in there for, as he put it, a £10 steak, you're paying a £5 for that. And then that's only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the week. And then basically on the Sunday or the Saturday, sometime at the end of the week, the restaurant owner basically divvies up how much people didn't pay because of this discount and just sends a big fat old bill to the government. So basically, the government's paying for half your food if you go out to eat. And they somehow think that this is going to jumpstart the restaurants again, when really it just means...
Wouldn't that just drive people to do it while it lasts and not really
Yes.
help out the actual flow of real business that needs to happen?
Yes, and also I would like to add to that, that's only for Mondays and Wednesdays, just for August. And
Yeah.
I, as a filthy opportunist, have been taking full advantage of this while I've been away from work.
I'm not going to lie, I do need to take advantage of it because I've been busy
I
moving
don't think,
house while it's been happening.
Zen, I don't think you understand how much I've taken advantage of this. I've saved at least £200.
Fucking hell, mate.
£200. That's how badly I've been abusing this. Or to translate
You
that,
spent 400, a relative 400 quid on eating out just in August. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I'm like skinny to the point of supermodel, like anorexic.
And that's only
so
on
I
Monday
don't
through
eat that
Wednesday.
much.
Like, how many
Yeah.
times a day do you eat out on Monday to Wednesday, you fat ass?
So I can, I think you've shamed him into silence. Well done, Yez. But so that may also be in these disconnecting, but whatever. So I shall add in here an anecdote.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I
So
think my
you were
mic
not
was tight.
ashamed.
Did you have to
No.
duck out to go get a burger, fatty?
No. I was just going to say it's only to Monday to Wednesdays in August. I'm just saying I've saved at least about £200.
Yeah, we were laughing about that. We heard you say it.
Yes, because the way I see it is, this type of opportunity is never going to come ever again. I mean, whenever there's an opportunity, you take advantage of it.
Yeah, hang on.
Come on now. That's being a shit citizen, man. Don't do that. Don't exploit bad government programs at the cost of other citizens' tax money. Come on, man.
I'm going to stand with Yiz on this one and on principle. If you feel any red-blooded love for your nation, I think the British are going to have to start banding together, getting boats of their own, and raiding France.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Oh Lord! Are you saying we should take back Calais from like we did in the 16th century?
I'm telling you to go to Calais and don't stop.
Oh well, excuse me, princess, that you want the British Empire.
No. I'm going to have to pull an AA here. No. No Fed posting. No talking about invading. No Lebensraum. We're moving on.
Anyway, going back to the point though, is that I personally have been abusing the shit out of this policy, and I don't give a fuck because I have the time off to do it, and because they're never going to let us do this ever again. And thirdly of all, it just shows that you're helping people out.
I was about to say, allegedly, according to the government, this is helping us support our restaurants. But a sort of... Oh, I used the word earlier and it's gone from my brain. You see, this is why you don't call me an academic.
Economic ignorance?
No, I just forget words, even though I casually use them. Anecdote, that's it. An anecdote from me. So the other day I went to speak to my friend who is a waiter. And again, I'm out of a job at the moment. So I said to him, hey man, do you think your boss could swing me a job? I'm more than happy to do whatever he needs. I just need something to do at the moment. And he went, oh yeah, no man, this whole help out scheme is awful. We are jam-packed Monday to Wednesday. We are absolutely empty the rest of the week. And the moment that this scheme stops, we are likely the business is just going to crash. And it's just like, oh, great. It's so bad. Because our government did such good job scaring the ever-loving shit out of our citizens. We have such a large amount of people who are just hiding in their homes at the moment. It's really not good.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think that this has been purposeful about this lockdown insanity. I think that the UN and billionaires and a lot of leftist politicians have been talking a long time about the New World Order talking point. And I think a big part of that is people are afraid to go out. And getting people used to staying at home, using the internet, they're conditioning people, especially the ones that are growing up right now under this, they're conditioning them to be afraid of the outside or view the outside as a non-viable place to make connections and to build community. And that's what the New World Order asshats want. They want us to not be able to unify outside of channels they believe they can control, which is, of course, internet communications.
Well, let's
And I
not
think
forget
that,
that.
that's a big part of it.
Sorry. Well, I was about to say, let's not forget, right about when this whole lockdown thing happened, people tried to protest against it, and they were arrested. That happened.
It happened in America too, but people kept doing
Yeah.
it, so they just sort of gave up.
Yeah, and not
that's
just
how
that, and
protest
That-
works.
That's
You've
why I
gotta
tell
keep
people to
doing
just
it.
if everybody would just stop wearing a fucking mask and go to work and have business. There's only so many cops. There's only so many politicians. If everybody just says no, fuck this, we're going to go to work, we're going to have markets, we're going to have community, then it would just happen. Like, we are at the point in our society to where our voices and our nonviolent actions can still work. If we give up much more of our liberties, we're going to be past that point. Just like the video I made last year called The Word or the Blade. For every word, for every voice, for every peaceful action taken off the table, a weapon is armed under the table, and angry people are getting more and more ready to use them. So we need to use our voices now to encourage people to just start acting as if there was no lockdown, and then it will stop, because that's how the government has to work right now.
Oh yeah. Well, I was the reason I was speaking to my friend who's a waiter is because yesterday I went to a barbecue, and I don't know if that's illegal right now or not. Because you know what, I want to go back to my life, you know.
And you should.
Yeah, exactly.
well, yeah, I mean, hell, speaking of work, I mean, thankfully I'm still working. Like, we were on furlough for 10 weeks,
Christ.
and then we came back in. But here's the funny bit, right? When we went into furlough, 4 people were tested positive for the Chinese flu. But after we came back, before we went into our shutdown 3 weeks ago, there were 40 infections.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, despite the fact we're all walking around with face masks and face shields, the canteen's closed, and we have fucking one-way pathways everywhere. Yeah, maybe the company should have, oh, I don't know, furlough us till like December, and we would have got paid for it.
That's
Maybe
a shame
that's me
about
being
that's a shame
Yeah,
about the canteen being closed there, because you could have benefited from the Eat Out to Help Out scheme from work canteens as well, according to the government website.
No,
Well,
right.
technically, yes, but here's the thing, though. I was currently on holiday. Well, worked prescribed holiday anyway for all of us. So technically speaking, for 3 of the 4 weeks of where the scheme's gone on, I thought, fuck it, I'm going to take full advantage of this when they announced it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's been a while since I had some steak. It's been a while I had enjoy a good burger and all that. Because to be honest, it's about time. You know what I'm saying?
So-
I'm not
gotta
gonna
take full
lie,
advantage
So
of that.
Monday through Friday, you just been beating it up. You just been having
no,
burgers and steak
through
and fish and
Wednesday.
chips every day.
I'll put it this way, years right. Monday to Wednesdays while I've been off. Literally, I live by a McDonald's, literally across the road, and I've been taking full advantage of their breakfasts because their breakfasts are really good. Okay, and with the half price,
really?
take full advantage of those muffins, and then come lunchtime, go to like go to a nearby pub and enjoy some steak, and in the dinner time, maybe enjoy a nice chippy and all that. I don't
Well,
give a damn. I'm saving half
I have to
price.
say, I do like manliness, and Kiz is definitely eating like a real man. I'll tell him that.
Exactly, dear. And also, if you're enjoying going out a lot, I'm just saying, right? It actually puts hell. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, you take advantage of these kinds of things.
Just
people
make
would
sure
say
you're
it's still
drinking some
principle.
orange juice, okay? You sound like you maybe need some vitamin C in you.
Oh, trust me.
We
I've been
we got
getting
another
plenty of
super
orange.
chat over on
Yes, I
Entropy.
do
We got another
apologize.
super chat.
Hey.
Tommy Knocker says he wants to just say hi, give a shout out to me and Carnal Conservative. We definitely appreciate the donation. Thank you for the $5, Mr. Tommy Knocker.
Hey.
And I didn't say the amount of Sin of Pride earlier. Forgive me. He donated $10. I meant to say the amount earlier. Thank you again, Sin of Pride.
And Tommy goes way back with me and Yiz on the internet, so it's good to see him.
Yeah, Tom, did Tommy use the same name in the Facebook and internet groups that we used years ago?
Yes, yeah, that
So
that
that's
is
the
him.
same. That's the same one. Okay, cool. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Thank you for swinging by. Hopefully, you'll subscribe to my channel and like my other content as well. I make quite a bit of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, we're oh yes, but still, my whole point with this whole scheme is your government, your public funds are being drained to compensate Kiz's fatness. Could we not perhaps just take some private citizen initiative and raid other nations, bring back some resources to deaden the blow?
In honor of Sargon, I feel like I should just say I disavow. I disavow. Okay.
Just say no to jingoism, kids.
Well, I mean, honestly, our public funds are being drained enough. I mean, those furloughs that have been put through, aren't they being like supplemented?
Yeah, and resource wars cost money, so let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm back.
I said
Sorry about that.
I said private
Welcome back.
citizens.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah, sorry
private
about that.
citizens. Okay, I see.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
I-
But
Blackwater for Jesus.
wait,
Yeah.
no, but that's cultural appropriation of the Vikings, though. We can't do that.
What you talking about? What you talking about?
What Viking nation is going to have the balls to stand up to you now? Look at Sweden. Look at them.
I thought the
I am
Vikings
looking
came
at
from
Play the Gordon Ramsay clip. Look!
I am looking at Sweden, and apparently they have hand grenades. So look, I'd rather.
No. The Swedish don't have hand grenades. It's their Islamic problem. Their Islamic element.
They still live there.
Using a hand
They
grenade.
still live there.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned grenade attacks. I just found a piece. 2016 there was 40 grenade attacks. In 2019 there was 100 explosions.
Good lord.
Yeah. What was that? Oh, that's right. I hate to be a filthy seller.
So we have a Swede with us today. Michael in the chat is a Swede. Michael, what is the he may or may not be listening right now. I don't know. Michael, if you're still here, tell us what's the logistic reason of why these criminals are getting hand grenades and explosives to use against the public there? Because surely there has to be a logistic answer, because it's not like they can just go down the street and get it from ye old local Swedish grenade shoppy. Like they can't do that. So I'm just curious as to where they're coming from.
Look, I'm just glad that Acme is still making money in the modern day. All right.
Well, what do you expect? Freaking what's his name? Wild E. Coyote has fucking lost all his money because of the last recession.
Oh no, did he? I thought he'd be managing. Shame.
Nah. You don't put the guy who's managing the one who buys all your products. There's a reason why the head of Apple doesn't have a fucking hipster running their company, should I say?
Their country.
Apple will own a country one day. I've got money on Norway, quite frankly.
Well, to be fair,
go ahead, Kizza. Go ahead. Then I'll say something.
Sorry. That was a mistake. That was a mistaken word by my part. But to be fair, I mean, there is, from what I understand, big appetite to cut California off from the rest of the United States and just make it its own island.
I'm more partial to making California a caliphate state and let the Muslims deal with it.
All right. Just stop. Okay.
I disavow.
Getting back on topic here. Getting back on topic about the food match, the 10-pound food match hacker thing. I think that this is evidence that people who are in power, whether you think they're just regular old neolib neocon shills, or whether they're New World Order globalist idiots, whatever, I think that this is blatant evidence of what people like me and Kizza and others have been saying about big encroaching governments for years, is that people that have power never give it up, and there's only the ever worsening slippery slope of authoritarian force. And when you have people in these Keynesian house of card economies, they don't ever want to stop something like a lockdown or a government program or a welfare system, because that is admitting weakness and defeat. And that is something that people who want to break down the government and get rid of programs can point to and say, that didn't work, that failed. It's obvious it failed because you reneged on it because of its failure. That's why this shit just keeps getting worse and worse, is because they don't ever want to stop a program or do something that actually breaks down the bad programs that hemorrhage taxpayer money like a sieve, because then others can point to it and say, oh, well, hey, if that's a massive failure, let's shut down this thing, which is just as bad of a massive failure. That's why I think we're seeing shit like this, instead of them just ending the lockdown and coming out and saying, okay, we were wrong about immigration. Because, I mean, if we were wrong about this, then maybe we were wrong about immigration, maybe we were wrong about housing, maybe we were wrong about A, B, C, D, E. I think that's why.
Well, I mean, not to quote, sorry to interrupt, but not to quote what Thomas Sowell says, the number one rule of economics is knowing the concept of scarce resources. The number one rule of politics is to disregard the first rule of economics.
Yeah, I think the thing is it's I would say, if I was a more white-pilled individual, I would say, well, as soon as this scheme stops and restaurants say, hey, we're dying again, they'll realize, oh, that was a bad idea, we need to do something else. But then the other side of me says, no, what's going to happen is the restaurants are going to say, hey, we are crashing because of this. And then the government says, okay, now the Eat Out to Help Out scheme will be instituted permanently.
Oh my
that
god!
would be funny. I mean, hell.
It would be funny if it didn't make me cry, you know.
I mean, actually, did you know what would have been a better option? What they could have done, which would have benefited restaurant owners, but also the average Joe, would have been scrapping VAT taxes, as well as dropping fucking make restaurant taxes tax exempt.
Yeah.
That would have been the smart option. But no,
yeah, but
we
that
can't
means
do
less
that.
money for government. But then again, this means less money. I don't know. I don't even know.
But here's the funny thing about economics, though, Zen, and I say this to everyone here: economics, a lot of it is based on opposites. Now, I know that sounds completely contradictory, but hear me out on this. There is a concept known as less is more and more is less. So, for example, there's plenty of evidence to show that when governments raise taxes, especially on those of the super wealthy, they tend to get less in revenue.
Yes.
I'm here, but I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes. I have some links to put in chat, but I am here, but I'm not going to respond for a few minutes.
No worries, yes. And so basically, the idea is, if you were to get rid of the VAT tax, which personally I think should be scrapped anyway, because how it's enforced is utterly BS anyways, based on ignorant stuff from like World War One, which never got updated, and you were to make restaurants tax exempt, that's more money into the pockets of the citizens, and also more money in the pockets of the restaurant owners, so they can still pay their staff, as well as be able to still function.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm not much of an economist, but I do understand what you're saying, and yeah, probably that would work. But they're idiots.
Well, of course, because they're all Keynesian monkeys.
yes.
And as much as I am a proud English patriot, John Keynes should disavow. I disavow John Keynes for being English.
Finally, a disavow that makes sense. But no, essentially, yeah. The more you take government out of the equation, the more the free market flourishes. So who'd have thunk?
Yeah, and I am a filthy free market absolutist, to the point where even if the major banks went bust, I would have said tough shit.
No,
bye.
Exactly.
No, actually, I wouldn't have done that. I would have laughed in the bosses' faces when they demanded a bailout. I laughed like a maniacal joker. But yes, but then again, I am a filthy free market absolutist, but also I'm a national capitalist as well. Yeah. I'm such an evil person. But alas, but also, what kind of makes me laugh about this whole COVID-19 is, it's ironically proven everything that people on our side. It's proven us correct about almost everything, and proven our position wrong about almost everything.
By the way, if you're paying attention to not empathy, entropy, Mr. Michael from Sweden has been informing us of how the hell they're getting grenades into the country.
Okay, but I'm not in that, so I can't say.
Basically,
I'll check that out. You go ahead and read about it all you want, but I'll read that once I'm
Yeah.
done sharing community links.
no problem.
well-
But essentially, from what we understand, it's being smuggled along with like regular guns. Apparently, Swedish customs authorities are ordered to not stop groups larger than themselves. So 3-4 guys in a car will not be inspected by 2 customs officials, as it's too dangerous. They are understaffed and underarmed, and they recently introduced a tax. Oh no, that's something else. But yeah, so
Right.
basically, the Swedish border control are painfully cucked, which is
Well, yeah.
very
I
sad.
mean, this. I mean, what makes me laugh is that Denmark had to violate the freaking Schengen. The Schengens had to violate the Schengen and single market rules to impose a border against Sweden.
Hmm. I feel like we need to say we will get, thanks to the many amount of questions on it, we will talk about cuties in the questions part of the stream, I think, because we've had like
What's this about
3
cuties?
requests to discuss it.
I will help with that as soon as that topic comes up per
Oh, I'm sure.
our gracious host.
God damn, that's a damn Cinepride. You are a legend.
Yeah, that is quite impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, damn, that's quite a donation by the
Well,
Cinepride.
I tell you what, it's 3:00, so let's take a short break and do some super chats since we had a big one come in.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the reins here for a moment. We're going to go ahead and start with a $5 super chat that came from a blank name, double hash. Love watching your streams. Found you when you went on Dev's show. Now, Dev is short fat otaku. He's a Canadian dude. Opinions on Netflix cuties. I went down a Wikipedia wormhole last night, and the connections to the LGBT movement and NAMBLA are staggering. Now, I know what he's talking about. Do the rest of you, the 3 of you, know what he's talking about?
Yes, I did. I just saw a post of this earlier. It turned out the director was.
I assumed the blank name's gender. I should say he or she is talking about. My bad, blank name.
Well, I did see a post earlier today saying that the director behind Cuties was arrested for having child abuse or having child pornography on him.
Well, before we get into that, I would like to address a really great super chat that we got today. Sin of Pride coming in with $100 US. $100 US. Thank you. Big round of applause for Sin of Pride. Thank you very much, my friend. Sin of Pride says, take this money and use it to destroy progressivism. I'm still at work, he says. Also, what's your take on cuties? So now let's actually start discussing this, because he's not the only one that wanted us to talk about this, because Dragon Fat Deposits, one of my friends, specifically from the short fat otaku community, the Game Boomers community, whose links I can share in chat as well. Actually, Dragon Fat, I gave you a wrench. You can share. So you go ahead and share Game Boomers and Short Fat Otaku's channel for me here in the chat when you can. The Cuties is basically a documentary on Netflix where it shows young girls of the age of, I think, 8 to 11. It's a very young age bracket. What was it again? What?
I heard 11, yeah.
It's between 8 and 11. Very young girls, so prepubescent to barely pubescent girls, twerking and dancing and doing all kinds of ugly sexual stuff. And I also read today an article that said the creator of the show said that she had hoped showing something like that would work counter to the sexualization of young people. But I think that is a filthy Marxist lie.
So
what
if
do
you
the rest
like,
of you think?
I can start with the mild sort of almost grey pill is the best way to put it, which is in comment sections across Facebook all day, is the running thread copy pasta that people have been sending out, which appears to be attempting to say that. So I'll give that and hope to raise people's spirits on it before I'm sure any of you are going to absolutely crush that to the ground. So apparently, it's originally a French film, and it is indeed meant to show a girl going into this environment of beauty pageants and over-sexualization of minors, and the movie is then to show how that's a fucking terrible thing. You know, something that apparently we need to be told, but apparently it's documentary, so... But apparently Netflix quote, marketed it wrong. So if you guys want to come in and crush my hopeful dreams and say that this is actually an absolutely piece of filth,
Well,
go ahead. I'll let Cardinal start, because did you do a video on this already? I think you did, didn't you?
I did do a video on this, and I watched the trailer for it. And essentially, if I were to break it down, I did not get the impression that this was a documentary. This is a fluff piece that is essentially you take the geographical area of France, you take a Muslim family, and then you take liberal degenerate France culture, and what they've recreated is Footloose for 11-year-olds, and it is blatant grooming propaganda. It's blatantly saying, "Oh, look at all these likes that we got," and then even in the trailer, I paused it in my video where one of the things that's said to this 11-year-old is, "You're a woman now," and I'm thinking,
Oh man, that's fucked up.
And I'm shaking my head, going, "What?" At least with movies like Grease and Footloose, we're talking about teens who were at their senior year. They're about to go off to college. They're going to learn themselves and discover the world, and that's fine, because they're of that age. To take that same exact phenomenon and put it on a 11-year-old, and it is blatant grooming propaganda. Like there's
I absolutely agree. I read articles about it. I watched a couple of videos about it. I watched a few minutes of your video about it. Everything about it seems, from the beginning, I don't care what the lady said in the interview or whatever, it definitely seems like the people behind this knew it would get a lot of attention, and the people involved push an LGBT hyper-progressive ideology, which for 80 years, writers from the Frankfurt School, disgusting first and second wave feminist authors in universities all across the West have been talking about the sexualization of younger and younger people. And it makes me sick. And I think that this is just another encroachment trying to destroy our way of life, trying to sexualize our youth. And I hate it. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty grim.
Well, not only is it grim, but you can tell that it is clearly calculated to include the Muslim population. So I feel like this is being padded so that if there wasn't enough resistance to it, they could say, "Oh, these people are just anti-Muslim," and that whole dynamic, that whole shift, really pissed me off. Like it like that there were so many red flags.
Whenever you hear whenever someone is an English speaker and they talk about anti-Islamic, Islamophobia, all this other stuff, that is complete bollocks every single time. Because when you look at people who actually unify around the power of the Islamic faith, Islamic countries, Islamic movements, they don't give a wet, sloppy fuck about what us English-speaking Westerners have to say. They will use posturing, violence, terrorism, threats, and they will completely get away scot-free because the powers that be are either already in bed with them or are too fucking scared and spineless to say anything about it.
Yep.
Well, the funny thing is like Netflix has clearly been on heavy damage control. So when it first sort of came out yesterday, the screenshots would have this description, and I quote, "Amy 11 becomes fascinated with a twerking dance crew. Hoping to join them, she starts to explore her femininity, defying her family's traditions." Now, I went on Netflix a minute ago to look at the script, and I can't tell if it's been changed or if maybe it has a different one in the UK, but it is 11-year-old Amy starts to rebel against her conservative family's traditions when she becomes fascinated with a free-spirited dance crew. So they've
there it is. That's exactly what I was talking about. It's always the lens of destroying what is valuable, destroying family values, traditional Western values, Christian values, stripping away youth, innocence, and forcing in progressive sexualized ideology younger and younger. Right there it is with that language.
The protagonist is clearly, I'm not sure, Muslim, or she's clearly of a minority religion because they've got like the headscarves and such. So I'll be honest, looking at it, it's a little bit amusing to see that this movie might finally open the rift between the conservative, the lefties that are lefty and LGBT and the lefties that are lefty and pro-Muslim, which we've already seen happening in English schools where they've been trying to teach LGBT values, and the Muslims have immediately kicked off to unholy degrees, essentially. So
and
that's a rift that's widening, and I think this movie might have just like slammed a stake in it right there.
I mean, personally, as much as I'd love to be optimistic, I'm not very optimistic on that because I'm not joking you. I believe it's Iran is one of the nations with the highest ratios of transgenderism.
What?
I'm not
No,
joking you.
No,
There is
Iran
cases-
does have a lot of transsexual people, and I think that's because
Yeah.
many people for decades now, at least the last 2 decades, I know from doing the work with intersex and transgender activism that I used to do, when that used to be a very noble, neutral thing to do because it dealt with teaching people what the differences were in hospitals, how to use insurance for this and that. A long time ago, when I had to learn about this stuff, when I was getting my problem fixed and having my genetic tests done, I learned that in Iran, going back to at least the 90s, one way to avoid persecution for being homosexual was to get a sex change. And so you had lots of people in Iran doing it, especially male to female.
yeah.
Yep, and that makes me. And you think that's happening in a Islamic republic?
Mm-hmm. And it's how do but no, I'm looking at this whole situation, and again,
To be clear, before we move on, sorry, Carnal.
go ahead.
Iran. Keep in mind the last real leader of real Iran wanted to be progressive, wanted to uplift the Iranian people towards a more progressive Western way. So that shows that Iran, except for now America, in my opinion, is largely to blame for the sort of hardline bad Muslims that sort of took over Iran. But that's a different story. There has been since the 50s and 60s a very progressive element to Iranian society. And of course, there's been pushback by the more traditionalists and by hardliner Muslims and stuff there. But there has been, since the cultural sexual revolution going back to the mid 1900s, that element has been at play in Iran. But a lot of people in the West don't know that. So I just wanted to put that in the air for you guys to know and research on your own if you want.
Yeah, I actually already knew about that reality, but again, I just have to drag this back to the fact that they're making Footloose for 11-year-olds, and we were asked in one of the at least one of the super chats to link this back to the LGBT relationship with this kind of propaganda, and how long they have been pushing for this, and it's been constant for the past 30 years at least.
Yeah, that was the super chat from __ is the best way I can read his name.
I can't even see her.
Or her name. Don't be a gender bigot.
Indeed, of course, of course.
Yeah. Did you just assume their gender?
It's entirely possible I did. I'm sorry, I go by statistics, and we're on YouTube, so.
What statistics? What do you mean? Do you have a study for those statistics?
I'm pretty sure I do, actually.
Yes,
YouTube is like
but anyway.
70% male, or something like that.
But hang on, there's another thing here about this. The person who made this movie, apparently they
Yeah, let's get back on topic. This is a good topic people want to hear about.
It is a Muslim director who made this film, and apparently one of you brought up that they were caught with either CP or some gross other offense on their laptop.
From what I remember seeing a post earlier today about not necessarily the director, but somebody close to the behind the scenes of the movie being arrested for child abuse, for child sexual abuse. I'm trying to find it, but honestly, literally every time I look it up, it's literally just talking about the Netflix stuff. I'm like, what the hell is that?
If __ could share the No Name, okay, if No Name could post any of those links that they had from from yesterday, from their horrendous Wikipedia rabbit hole, that would be much help.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find a post because I know there was a meme about it saying, "Oh, this has nothing to do with paedophilia," and then next, the second part of the post shows the person involved in the movie was arrested.
Yeah,
I'm trying,
but I think while
damn it, where the hell is John? Damn it, John, where is that post?
while you dig for that, I feel like there's another screenshot that's been going around. I'm not sure if it's been seen.
While you're digging for that, I'd like to address something that I saw in the live chat. Vatsock says that Ayatollah Khomeini got his PhD on Sharia from Scotland. He's a Mason. He's a fake. So I can't confirm if that's true or not, but
Wait, what's this?
a quick DuckDuckGo search could probably confirm that.
Wait,
that
what's this,
Ayatollah
sorry?
Khomeini got his PhD on Sharia from Scotland, of all places.
Well,
given the SNP, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, going to Scotland for a PhD of Sharia is like going to China to get a PhD on liberalism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but why was he in Scotland?
To be fair,
not a
Scotland
historian.
is pretty.
Wealthy elite from all over the world travel to the West to go to university. That's been a thing for hundreds of years.
Okay.
Well, I mean, hell, I live in one of those oldest universities in the world. How it's older than the Aztecian Empire.
So I've just posted into links and articles in the Discord.
Yes.
A screenshot someone posted when they were talking in the live chat to Netflix's customer service. So they asked,
yes, I've seen this. Sorry.
For benefit of the chat, I'll just read this out to them. So the person, just a random viewer of Netflix, says they were clearly talking before this, but they say, "How does a movie sexualizing children get approved? Who signed off on this?" And Netflix Mary says, "We understand that not all stories may appeal to all of us." Blah, blah. They basically go on a thing of, "Oh, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to watch it." And then the person says, "Do you support paedophilia? A simple yes or no will suffice." And Netflix Mary responds, quote, "We cannot really comment on that. But while we believe in creative freedom, at Netflix we respect all religions and their cultures, traditions, and values." And that's a spine-crawling quote right there.
Okay.
No, to quote Kathy Newman here. So what you're saying is you're pro pedophilia.
Yes, that's actually what they're saying essentially.
I disavow. I think everyone in the chat disavow Netflix right now. Disavow Netflix and cancel your subscriptions right now.
Could we get a D in chat? Could we get a D in chat to disavow?
Yes, big D's. Give it the big
D's
D's.
to disavow.
Big D. But no, it's also
Oh, hello.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
the quote. That's the quote. It's
Sometimes when I share, I get robot voice. Hopefully that won't be too bad.
No, you're still sounding good. But yes, so this is proof for the stream. So people think we're not telling lies. There's the proof right there.
Oh, Horatius, that's grim.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
I know. It's absolutely disgusting. And to be fair,
that is a fair read about the failures of liberalism and capitalism, because like I always say, we have to take the good and the bad from previous systems and build something better. You have to look at NatSoc, look at everything, even communism, look at everything and say what worked, what didn't. Let's build for a better future. And the absolutes of the free market and liberalism have led us to some very dark places, and that Horatius makes a very fair read of what led us to this.
Yeah.
Well,
did anyone catch?
I'll just be back in 2 seconds. I just need to nip off.
Did anyone catch Blair White's video about the maps showing their faces now?
For those of you who don't know what a map is, MAP is something that started on Tumblr many years ago. It stands for Minor Attracted Person. It's a disgusting way to try to normalize pedophilia and all the other pedo stuff. And on Twitter now, you have a lot of people that support quote all age mixing that go under the tag MAP. I'll turn it back to you, Frank. Go ahead.
And yes, apparently Blair White did a video about where these maps, the politically correct term for pedo, they're now showing their faces on their profiles, on their posts, and they're acting like it's okay for them to be open and reveal themselves. So I'm on the heels of this cuties debacle. We need. I'll just stay quiet. As far as I'm concerned, we need more rope.
Nah, I mean, what makes me laugh about actually, it's funny you mentioned Blair White. It was it Blair. I'm trying to think. Was it Blair White or was it Shu who did a video where they called out a pedophile and
Shu did.
and they are pedophiles? Yeah, okay,
I know that Shu did one. I know who Blair White is, and I like her, but I don't really follow her content, and I don't really follow Shu's content either. But I did watch that video, so I know at least Shu did one on it.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was one or the other, but they basically did an argument with somebody where they called somebody out for basically being a pedophile, and they basically said, "At least I'm not rude."
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I'm not joking you. That was literally their response, and I'm just like,
I feel like I've missed a bombshell.
Wait, did you? Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ! I thought it was bad enough when Salon.com did a freaking article posting it.
Yep, Todd Nickerson is the man who wrote that article about I'm a pedophile, not a monster, and It goes all the way back to the same guy who did the first transgender. He did the first transgender twin study where he forced that he not only convinced the parents to transition their son who had a botched circumcision, but he also took photos of the two twin boys reenacting the different gender roles that they had been assigned, including dry humping and crap.
Yeah,
I heard about
this. I read about that. It's pretty messed up.
So he says that heteronormativity is just a social construct, but later in his and this is all on his Wikipedia page, so this is not going too far down the rabbit hole. He also says later, in the next breath, he says, but pedophilia is a natural development of parental love gone erotic. And I'm sitting here going, whoa. So heterosexuality is a social construct, but pedophilia just happens.
Yeah, that's something that is completely felonious, and you see a lot of people pushing. That definitely is old-timey Frankfurt School nonsense, given a new makeover, so to speak. Because I've read snippets from quote-unquote progressive or Marxist writers from 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even some stuff going back as far as the Weimar Republic, talking about how the sexual or romantic love that emerges between a child and an adult as one trains the other is something natural and to be encouraged, when those same assholes talk about regular heteronormativity being patriarchal and bad. It's completely backwards and cancerous, and I hate all of it so bad.
Well, I mean, not to...
Oh, I think we lost Kizza again.
Yep.
Kizza, I think we lost you.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh,
there he is.
Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there, but can you guys still hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Right, sorry. What I was going to say on the point regarding what Carlo News was going to, we do have historical evidence of the concept of pedophilia existing as far back as the Romans and the Greeks. So it's clearly, not to defend as it's saying it's normal, but it's something that mankind has known that has existed for a very, very, very long time. And if we want to be technical here, what we now describe as the age of consent used to be a lot younger, not even within the last 100 years of our history.
Well, and while that is true, I just need to interject. The reason why we have the ages of consent that we have is because we do live in a liberal democracy where, at least in At least
I
in
have something to say after
principle,
this, but go ahead.
at least in principle, those who are considered adults should be on some form of level playing field in terms of maturity, in terms of being able to actively engage with one another. And I'm not against the ages of consent or the definition of adulthood, primarily because there is a vast, dare I say, inequality between people who are still developing and those who have
Well,
developed.
I will say this. I don't think that when it comes to ethics and morality, you should ever argue anything on the basis that it's natural or that it has been a part of humanity for a long time.
Indeed.
That is terrible. You have to argue ethics and morality from an ethical, moral standpoint in the current era. Rape and murder and slavery used to all be legal in certain ways. Cutting people's hands off and disemboweling people used to be legal. Hell, it used to even be enforced in a lot of ways, even by the religions that we love now. So I don't think using history or whatever is quote unquote natural to our species is ever a good argument for arguing modern day ethics and morals. I don't think you should ever go that route.
Yeah, precisely that. and
Sorry if that came off as a little preachy. I that's one of the things that my exploration of philosophy has led me to, is that if you go down the natural path, or what we have always done or what was done a long time ago path, that's a bad path to go down, because you're always going to find ugly things. You're going to find how, oh, well, if so-and-so is natural, well, rape is natural, or one race enslaving another race is natural. And that's all just ugly, unethical garbage. We have to make new things and better things to lead us towards a healthier, more, I don't know, fruitful, more rewarding future. And you have to have a nuanced argument that is to use the word in its real sense, the word progressive. You have to have a progressive argument about ethics and morals, or it won't work.
Oh yeah,
Well,
sorry guys, sorry to interrupt. I found a piece right here. The guy who gave the pedophile movie Cuties an award at Sundance was charged with molesting a 10-year-old multiple times.
Right. Okay. So it wasn't one of the creators then. Okay.
Sorry, my mistake. So my mistake, ladies and gentlemen, for that fake news. But I've given you the actual news, and I'm sure, like everyone else here, I disavow.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay. So the person who endorsed the film and gave it accolades is pro child molestation. That doesn't exactly scream. That just reinforces the idea that we're on the right track. That this is a slippery slope. In the reality of the slippery slope is not a fallacy. It is this is something that should not have been tolerated or put out for public dissemination. Another issue, however, that we need to address with this whole debacle is they're now saying that it might be, as Yiz was alluding to, that pedophilia might be natural, and I'm not willing to concede that ground. I am not willing to say that pedophiles are natural. I'm fairly certain that monsters like that are created. They're groomed, and they want to groom and make more of their own kind. I don't think we're dealing with something that is inherent.
I'm happy to say that they are a malfunction of the human existence, but I'm never going to say that they're natural.
That is patriarchal language you're going through there, Zan.
No. To be fair, we tolerate and encourage and endorse a lot of things that are genetically aberrant, and you got to be careful going down that road, because where you place that marker is very dangerous, because you can go all the way to the extremes of it with Austrian painter genetics, or you can pull back way far and have us having retards being fry cooks at McDonald's. So there's a lot of places on that scale to put that marker, so you have to be careful with it.
Exactly, which is why I'm not conceding that argument whatsoever. At least those with autism, those with Down syndrome, those are natural products of nature. I will not give that status to pedophiles ever. No, they are unworthy.
No. I mean, the point I was making is this topic of pedophilia has existed. for a long freaking time.
And I'd like to remind everyone, this is a good juicy topic, and a lot of people in chat have things to say. If you have things that you want us to address as a panel, go over to the Entropy site. I linked it right now. And in the left-hand side, there is a box called Questions. Type in your comment or question to the panel, and we will address it as the show goes on. So back to you, Kizza. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like, for instance, I do know there was, when talking about like the ancient Greeks, there was a, I forget what the term is, but there was a common thing where a so-called master would take a young male pupil, and it was known that they would do certain things with each other while learning a craft. I forget what the term was.
That was pederasty, I believe, is the term.
Okay, pederasty, right. So I'm not going to say it's natural, but to say it's something we've not been aware of in human history, I would say is a big fat lie.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not doing this as a counter-argument to what Carnal's saying. No, I do not want nonsense in my society as much as the next person. But to completely act like this is only recently existed is not a correct statement to make.
Oh no, and I would never suggest. I would never suggest that this is a new development. It's just it's something that we have naturally and dare I say righteously moved away from, and the idea that we should bring it back because it was done in the past, and this kind of dissonance, that this kind of rewriting of history is also done with the topic of gay marriage on Wikipedia. There's a very strange divide. If you go to like early marriage in Rome, it's very clear. It's for families. It's between a man and a wife. But if you go to like the LGBT history of gay marriage, and you go to the Rome section, like, oh, it was so popular in Rome. But there are only like 2 or 3 examples of extremely unpopular emperors who did that. And the Roman statutes themselves are clearly, for the family, for the nation, for like the family unit. And I am not a fan of this fantasy world that's trying to be built around us, that rewrites history about how we interacted with these phenomena anciently. There's a reason we move past them.
Yeah, for sure. And also, when it comes to the Romans themselves, it was known that the soldiers would happily do a lot of things together, because it was the mentality was you would save and fight for people that you love.
Okay, I finally got it to work with my screen share. Twitter was being a bitch.
Yes, that's
can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Can everybody see that? Okay.
Oh wow. Oh jeez. So they're everywhere.
Can I just say something? Is it just me, or do pedophiles have like a certain look? Because it's starting to seem like it to me. Like he does like.
You mean
look
rich and Jewish?
God damn it!
I disavow.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but God damn it! Yes, when I went on the stream like 3 weeks ago, one of the first things you said was, "Yeah, no, we don't need to censor ourselves that much, except for the small hats, because they will detect on the stream."
Yeah, but see, the way that I phrased it, the algorithm's not going to notice that because I said something positive and phrased it positively.
If you say
so. Sean's just brought up something apparently which is going to piss off Garno.
Please.
Apparently, this guy was a Mormon.
Sean says that apparently it's Mormon.
Yes, or he was.
Go ahead.
Man, so multiple wives weren't even good enough for him. Goodness me.
Come on. Very few Mormons are like that.
Well, we actually stopped that practice. We've stopped polygamy for it's been over 100 years. They haven't done that since
it's been a long time.
1800s.
Mormons cleaned up their act, and the only ones that kept up with the old ways are kind of haram and not welcome in modern Mormon culture.
Yeah, they are literal apostates.
Damn.
Like they are literally
Yeah,
excommunicated.
like by the definition of the word apostate, they're apostates
Yeah.
to modern Mormonism in America.
Well, that's a very filthy haram word to say on YouTube.
What, apostate?
Yes, that is a very that's
Oh.
a very haram word. It's not halal.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Ooh.
Oh
oops.
yes,
Okay, I didn't know that.
yes. Because don't you know, apostates, according to a certain peaceful individual, they are all meant to be stoned to death.
Ah.
The same people
Yeah,
who are
stoning of
proposed.
peace. Stoning of
Yes.
peace.
Yes,
But yeah.
and but yes,
Apparently, the claim is that we're pedos too. No. This is something that needs to be addressed in large, like polygamous sects that are not part of the main branch of the church. There is a massive problem where the cult leader will outcast the um they'll not only marry the girls extremely young, but they'll outcast the sons so that the men of prominence can have multiple wives, which is not what polygamy was actually used for when the church proper utilized the practice. So,
what was it used for exactly?
Several things. First off, that was during a time when women couldn't own property. They couldn't own. They had no rights to their own sense of self. They had no. So one, it was for economic protection. It was for literal political protection. It was for maintaining their rights and liberty. Like if you look at Latter-day Saint Mormons, Mormon women from back at that time, they did phenomenal things. They were one of the first groups of women who had their own magazines. They had they were actually given, like, I think they were the second state that gave women the right to vote. They built hospitals, they built granaries, they were industrious. Like the accomplishments of Latter-day Saint women at that time were really extraordinary because, and it's not because of feminism. That's bullshit. The reason was because they went out with the men and rebuilt society from the ground up, and that's why they were given the suffrage early on, is because they were entrusted to build society with and to preserve it. So this it's a whole different world between what polygamy was and those apostates who are using it now.
Yeah. So I was about to say, Kizza, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about during this stream or not? Because I think I remember you saying in the pre-show you had some topics to go over.
Oh, sorry. What was that? I was interrupted. Oh, sorry. I had to deal with something quickly. What was that you were saying?
I was saying. I was just gonna say, because we went into this as one of the requested topics, and I was just wondering, did you have some things to, like, some topics you want to go over during the stream? Because I was just gonna say, because we're getting on, and I didn't want you to miss out on anything you want to talk about.
I did want to talk about the economic recession, which we slightly went into, but also what's it called? I'm trying to think. Was there something else I wanted to talk about?
While he thinks, I'd like to remind everyone that you can leave us questions and comments over on the Entropy app on the question widget on the right-hand side of the screen. And you can even leave us financial gifts over there. Many have already done so today. You can find that at the link I sent just now. Please continue, Kizza.
Let me think.
Because I think you were talking about how, like, we've already lost 20% of our
that's
GDP.
That's right. Yeah. I think I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but so forgive me, the audience watching. But regarding the lockdowns of the United Kingdom, in the second quarter of 2020, the UK economy shrunk by 20.4%. Which, to put that into context, the UK economy between 2007 to 2009 shrunk by 25%.
So, for the small brains, which includes me, Can you explain what that exactly means? Like, does that mean that, like, out of all of like the people earning money in this country, 20% of money earning is just gone because of people losing their jobs? Is that like a good way to explain it, or because I don't know economics, so if you want to like translate that a bit.
GDP is gross domestic product.
Mhm.
So it's based on how much money the country makes overall. So to put it in perspective, where the country was before the lockdown, we're 20.4% behind where we were, which is a massive drop. And that technically means us, but not just us, but every Western country is in a recession.
Yeah, but my point was like, so what is that caused by? Is that caused by people losing jobs? Is that from jobs themselves not having as much business?
That's purely from the lockdown. So businesses could not function; they couldn't do their jobs. Now, I know economics is very boring, but when you take into consideration that the 2007, well, the global financial crash caused 25% drop in 2 years. 2 years, by the way. Whereas very funny years. That's classic. I'm sure that's very classic. But yeah, so when the banks went bust because of the terrible policy of subprime mortgages, as well as pushing along going along with aggressive fractional reserve banking, the whole thing went bust, and because of that, 25% of our economy over 2 years was basically disappeared.
I'm not going to lie, you fried my brain with the big words. All I heard was money, mortgages.
Okay. So,
come on now, that wasn't that complicated. You can get that.
Okay. For those who are not unaware, during the 2000s, there was a government-sponsored policy known as the subprime mortgage policy, which was a way to try and get people onto the housing market.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that's one of the things the government likes to do, is to show off that they're trying to get people to own housing. Now, to do that, the mortgages were basically, they were giving away mortgages to people who had very poor credit.
Right, okay.
And the problem was the banks were being super aggressive thanks to their fractional reserve system, which means that they basically lend money which they don't technically have, in reserve. And basically, yes, thank you, yes, as Spear said. And basically, they went all in on this policy. And then what happened was, come to 2007, they realized, oh, crud, a lot of people can't pay these mortgages. We're screwed, and boom. And that's what led to the major financial crisis, as we see. Now, there is a great video by Mr. Glenn Jacobs, the guy who used to play as Kane in the WWE/WWF, who speaks about Austrian economics. He goes into this brilliantly about the subprime mortgage scandal. And Zen, if you're going to be utterly shocked by this. Would you like to have a guess where the first fractional reserve bank was founded?
Please tell me it wasn't Israel.
No, it wasn't Israel.
Okay, that's good. I'm sorry.
No.
Yes, it's got this meme up on screen, and it's
I've seen
only place that can come into my head.
I've seen the meme. I have seen the meme. Yes, I have. Yes, but basically,
London.
It happened close. It was the Bank of England in 1694. Now, what happened was the king at the time, because he was an imperialist bastard, all empire and all that, was spending tons and tons of money on foreign wars. But the problem was he was running out of money and he couldn't raise taxes because the people would revolt because our taxes were outrageously high.
Yeah.
So he did a little deal with the devil known as the Bank of England, and basically the Bank of England became a fractional reserve bank to be able to lend money to the king so he can fight all these wars.
Yes, you're killing me here.
Yes, funny. I disavow yes.
But hey, we're having some fun while you guys talk. Go ahead. I'm having a good time.
Yes. However,
it's all in good fun.
Now, for instance, then, are you aware? I'm sure you've heard of inflation, right?
Yeah, where basically the government prints money, which means that the money that itself loses value. Yeah, I understand
Exactly,
that.
right? Right. Now, that goes back to my earlier point where I said with economics, less is more and more is less.
Yes.
Now, inflation, now this is going to get a lot of the libertarian types who are here who may not be aware of this. Inflation is an indirect form of taxation.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is
Because
you're technically being taxed because you end up with less money in your back pocket. Even though
yeah.
physically speaking, you still have the same money, what you could do with it is reduced.
Hmm.
Yeah, so with this and what has happened over the years is, to give you an example of the US dollar, the US dollar since the creation of the Federal Reserve, which there is a brilliant book on this called The Creature That Created the Creature of Jekyll Island. The Federal Reserve, and I'm not joking when I say this, was literally founded on a conspiracy.
Right.
Yes.
What was that? Sorry, creature. What was
the
that?
creature of Jekyll Island.
From Jekyll
As
Island,
in,
right? I'm just
yeah.
gonna add that into because I actually have an entire wish list on my Amazon of just political
Oh,
books.
trust me. If I got a huge bunch of recommendations I could give you right now if you want to hear
I'm
them.
sure you could. Honestly, like I say, they'd fry my brain. Right now, it's 2 books about Trump and the abolition of Britain.
All right. I have to step in. This
Yeah,
is getting
sorry.
stale and people are getting bored. So
Yeah, sorry
Sorry.
about that. Sorry.
that's all right. What we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're going to move on to a final topic. Carnal Conservative, before we began, you said there was a specific thing you wanted to talk about. Would you like to air that and let's move to that part of the conversation now?
Well, yes, and in light of the pandemic, in light of the shutdown, parents have several options for their children when they go back to school, which I disavow. I think that the
Excuse me.
Department of Education should be abolished, but that's just
Real quick, I'd like to give Michael Peterson on excuse me, on the entropy question widget a shout out real quick. He voiced to the panel, the lockdowns kill small business, protecting the giants from competition. Any comments on that? We actually just talked about that. I believe that I vented about that earlier. You're correct. I believe it was on purpose. At least a lot of people behind the lockdown, it was on purpose. A lot of people, of course, are just scared cowards that go along with it. I just now noticed that on entropy and didn't want him to feel like I was ignoring him. So unless anyone wants to add something to that, we can move back to what Frank was saying, or what Carnal Conservative was saying. Sorry, Carnal.
My comment on that is yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Just a Chad yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But please, Carnal, go ahead.
But in light of the lockdown and education's kicking back into gear, which, by the way, will mean that most of the Seattle Antifa protesters will have to go back to work. Anyways,
What work?
Educational work, the indoctrination of your children. Anyways,
Good point.
So you have you have 3 options. You can try and send them back to regular classes. You can enroll them on online school, or you can homeschool. For the parents who have opted to keep their children at home, but to participate in the school districts via online, there are several schools, or there's at least one that I've heard of, who is sending their parents waivers, basically demanding them to not monitor their children while they're being indoctrinated online.
Do you have an
internet.
article or a link or something I can share to have this on screen while we talk about it?
Not on me. Goodness gracious. Let me do a search
real
quick.
No, you keep talking. I'm going to look. Go ahead.
And so there's this massive, they're trying to, hedge their bets, and it's so blatantly obvious that we're I'll be honest, me and Mrs. Carnal have seriously considered homeschooling our children, and there's only one who wants to honestly go back to school, because that child is very, very interactive, very socially inclined, very athletically inclined, lots of energy. But it really is it's becoming necessary. It's becoming the it's going to have to become the rule for those who don't want their children to become a part of the cathedral. Like you need to take them out, and that's becoming more and more necessary. And thanks to the pandemic, almost ironically, it's becoming more viable. And those middle options of having the state indoctrinate your kids online, they want to try and tie your hands behind your back and say, "Oh, you can't monitor us while your children's online with us." And no, just no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I mean, in England, I've got to say this is like a constant like debate. So have you seen back when this was a thing in Birmingham? I sort of slightly mentioned it earlier in the stream, actually, just by coincidence. But they tried to start doing what is referred to as LGBT classes, although I think that's overestimating it a bit. In schools in Birmingham that had I believe something similar to 95% Muslim pupils, and basically all of the parents vastly protested it, and that was a mess at the time. So it's an odd debate that comes and goes of who's in charge of the kids' education. Is it the teachers and therefore the state, or is it the parents?
Well, obviously, we know what side that the powers that be want. The educational system, because let's be honest, the anti-white, anti-Western push of all of this starts in education. It starts there. And welcome back, Kizza. It starts there because when you look at the people that are in media now, the younger politicians now, your Rashida Tlaibs and all these other monsters,
AOC.
They are all products of this terrible, endemic, white guilt, anti-Western based nonsense that is established in education and in academia.
I have a slightly different take on this, which is likely because I'm from the UK and because of the endemic problems of this country, is that I think it needs to be a balance, because otherwise, how are we to de-radicalize the children of Islamists, is my opinion. Now, obviously, I don't want the state to be in charge of teaching like children, but on the other hand, there's got to be something there. And my argument's always been there needs to be a balance. Have the state teaching people things, but then have everyone in the country know exactly what they're teaching them. And then, if the state, my opinion is if the state starts teaching bullshit and the kids.
Someone named Celtic Viking 45 just said something very disturbing in chat. That Massachusetts just passed a law that kids must be vaccinated before returning to schools.
Nope.
Don't we still not have actual working vaccinations yet? Or they talk about vaccinations in general?
Wait. What kind of vaccinations are we talking here?
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking MMR? Are we talking freaking influenza jabs every year? Which one specifically?
My brain jumped to corona vaccinations, which is all of the talk right now, which to my knowledge don't exist except apparently in Russia, which I've been hearing floating around.
Yeah. How do we know
flu
the
vaccine?
Russian vaccine? Yeah. How do we know it's just not just an influenza jab?
Now, now, this is not like getting your MMR vaccine when you're a baby. Mm-hmm. Like this is not something that should be mandatory for little kids. This is not something that you should make mandatory. Flu shots do save a lot of lives every year, but they're really old or really sick people. We don't need to force vaccinations on healthy children. That's bullshit.
Yeah, and also, I can see a major red flag with this law is, what if you're a child who can't take vaccinations, then what?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that they'll... I'm going to scroll down through the article while you guys talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly blunt. Me and Mrs. Carnell have already said, if our children will be required to take a quote-unquote coronavirus vaccine, the answer is no. Homeschool.
Yeah, no. Especially not if the only thing we have is it's coming out of Russia. Does anyone see any
Well-
information on that? Because that's a
Well,
might concerned.
Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just typical Russian propaganda. But I
Mhm.
mean, how I live in one of the cities where they're working on a vaccine right now.
But on the other hand, Russia's one of those countries where, for all we know, they could actually have like human test subjects. So theoretically, they could technically be faster at developing these things. It's just not quite as humanitarian in how they make them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this right now. When was the last time the Russians invented something when it came to medical and science?
I'm not a. I don't know. I will say that I don't know.
Thank you. Pretty much anything to do with medical overwhelmingly came from the English-speaking world.
Fair enough.
And I'm sorry, but the corona is so close to a flu virus. I don't believe or trust in anything they send me. Like it makes the idea the absurdity.
Right. No. I have to step in here. I have to pull an AA and say no. Listen.
All right.
I have to
Tell me
stop
what
you.
for.
I have to correct you there, Kiza.
What?
About what you said about the English-speaking world and medical technology inside. That is absolutely false. You can't claim
recent medical.
Recent? Okay. What about the vast amount of neuroscience, neural interface, and other interface technologies that have come out of Japan and Korea in the last 20 years? What about the vast advancements in genetic pairing and genetic research data that's come out of India in the last 20 years? Like you can't say that the
India, I'm
advancements are
highly
Anglo
skeptical.
only. That's even
No, but
like I
I meant
wouldn't even
specific-
say that
I meant
modern advancements
specifically-
are completely Western. They're just largely Western.
I meant specifically in terms of like vaccinations and stuff like that. Not necessarily in terms of other stuff. So I misspoke.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, then I stand by what I said, but I don't know enough about vaccinations specifically to say one way or the other.
Well,
maybe it's more specific to say like pharmaceuticals is the better way to put it, rather than just medical in general.
I guess, yeah, because I don't deny Japan or South Korea's work, for instance. India, I'm very skeptical on. But yeah, I mean, what kind of really, but this kind of frustrates me all is that if anyone remembers the Epoch Times documentary in regards to COVID-19, which came about earlier this year, I'm not sure if everyone saw that.
Mm-hmm. Epoch Times is pretty base, so you have my attention.
Yeah, they did a little documentary thing back in, I think it was February or March, where they did a huge amount of research in terms of the Wuhan lab where supposedly this virus came from. And there was a long web of like connections between the Obama administration, the Canadian government, even elements of the European Union, as well as China. And apparently there was something about doing 10 to 15 years worth of studying of coronaviruses pretty much since I think it was after the SARS pandemic back in 2003. And apparently, based on what was founded in the genetic coding, it was only a slight deviation from the SARS virus itself.
And not to get too far into the rabbit hole, but isn't there a video of Bill Gates in front of like a military intelligence panel where he essentially says if we can use viruses to shape the human mind or something to that effect?
Jesus.
It's something to that effect. I don't think it shaped minds. I think it was to prevent something or to get people acting. It was something about conditioning people to act or to behave a certain way, something like that. It's an older clip. It's from a few years ago.
Well, there is a clip of him from, I think it's TED Talks back in 2015, where he speaks about how poorly prepared nations are when it comes to a medical pandemic, which is really hilariously ironic because there was actually a little survey which came out in the UK back in 2016, which said that the NHS was in no fit state to deal with a pandemic. When I'm just like, yeah, because the way the NHS is run, it's not meant to deal with a pandemic. And if you want your hospitals to be built to deal with a pandemic, well, guess what? You're going to be pumping a lot of money into those things, and you're basically treating it as insurance and you're just waiting.
Yeah.
All right, I would like to divert the attention from the chat now over to something that I'm going to be doing on a screen share. So what we're going to do is pop something open real fast. I released a video today talking about doing going free lexicon and helping people wake up to what's going on with the anti-white narrative activism. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to screen share something, and I'm going to show people exactly what I'm talking about. What we're going to do is, boop, we're going to go to the Tim Pool main video that pops open every day at 4 p.m. You should be able to see it on your screen right now. And what I'm talking about is, as soon as a Tim Pool video goes up, he's going to have thousands of comments shortly. And if you put something quick in the comments here, Trump says Democrats stealing the election with vote by mail. Now we can put something white positive about awareness as the first comment, which is the DNC and the anti-white narrative rely on non-white, anti-white votes. They are one and the same enemies of America. Now, that is definitely going to get a lot of attention and interaction, and whether people hate me or not, regardless of what they say, let's make this bigger so it's easier for people to see here. Boop. There we go. This has the words anti-white narrative and anti-white in it. And no matter what happens, this is going to get a lot of engagement, hateful responses, that kind of thing. And it's also going to get a lot of people that are already red-pilled getting on board and wanting to talk about it. And this is how you push these mimetic words and phrases. The goal here is just to get the word anti-white narrative and the word anti-white into people's minds and getting them used to using it. So I just wanted to share that since I made a particular video on how to do it today. And right now at 4 o'clock when it happened, right now at 4 o'clock is when Tim Pool puts out his main video every day. So I just wanted to jump in and share that. So there it is.
Awesome. Awesome. By the way, if you could, I don't know if you've already done so, but if you could post like a guide of which channels typically post at what time so we could all kind of like assist in that endeavor.
Well, see, it's funny you say that because I already have a WordPad file where I was working on that today to share on social media later.
Awesome.
The sad thing is a lot of channels don't have a proper schedule. For instance, Sargon just posts whenever he wants, and it's a right pain. I'll tell you what.
I'm the same.
I think the biggest curse. I'm not judging you, man, but someone of Sargon's
He does
level
what he wants.
where he has, like, you know, he's got enough money to pay a secretary, you'd think he'd at least have some level of a schedule. But I was going to say...
Yeah, but problem is, which what he does, he kind of just goes and does when he wants to. He doesn't have a set schedule, which I know many YouTubers do. He just posts if he finds something. That's why sometimes... Mayhal, why do you think he dropped it This Week in Stupid?
I miss that show. Now all I have is Britisher.
Please.
Like
you should watch V. V's been taking up the mantle, and it's even more crazy and hilarious.
V's voice annoys me.
How dare you insult our favorite Romanian?
Calm down, Greta. Calm down.
Who are you calling Greta? Do I look like a Swedish girl?
How dare you?
He's a proud Romanian who's working really hard so he can get married with his wife. Okay, he's got to buy a house. God damn it!
Ooh woo! Hey, I want to buy a house too.
But he's getting married and he's got to get a nice house for his wife who's got big titties, as he says.
But I was about to say, I think one of the worst attacks YouTube has done to the sort of the anti-establishment channels is to remove the feature of emailing people when an upload goes up. I'm sure people have noticed that.
YouTube controls that now. It has to go through them. The users don't have an option to do that with their viewers anymore.
It's horrendous.
It's
I tell
BS.
you what, 2 days went past and I suddenly went, hang on, I'm not getting notifications for these. What is my emails wrong? Check my
That's why.
emails. No,
That's
it's
why
fine.
people like me and other content creators say you have to follow us on Gab and Parler and Twitter and all this other shit because we
Well-
make posts all the time as soon as new content goes up. Like that's why you're in my Discord. That's why you follow me people on Twitter and shit because you
Yeah,
have to rely on outside sources because YouTube is terrible about promoting content that they want to suppress.
I just not
Well,
like
yes.
to nip a bit of fake news that's going on in your chat. Sargon is 40 to 41, according to
Yeah, he
according
is
to
actually in the.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, he
People
is.
saying he's
Me
in
and
his
Sargon are the
early
same
30s.
age. He's a little older, so he's 41 and I'm 40.
People saying he's in his early 30s. Like, really?
No, he's not. He's definitely not.
No, I know that.
He is.
Yeah.
He is actually a late millennial. No, he's actually.
Me and
he's
Sargon both
actually
are on the cusp
Xer.
of Gen X and Millennial, 1979, 1980.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
I just thought I'd nip that one a little bit.
No
well,
problem.
hey, unlike everyone else here, I've actually met him in person twice, and he still owes
I've
me a
met him
drink.
in person. I've met him in
When?
person twice.
When?
Okay,
When?
I met him in London at the Count Dankula March about 3-ish years ago. That was the one where we all went on a boat afterwards for drinks. It was great.
Wait, was that the one with Jordan Peterson?
No, I don't think John Peterson was there, but he was
No.
there, and I believe Tim Pool was there as well. That was the one. Literally, I think it was the day that he got his sentence. That was the day when they said you're getting fined £800. It was that day. The second day was the UKIP meeting in Birmingham, I think, which was a little. I believe that was March last year-ish. So I have actually met him twice.
Okay, I have as well. The first was the first live thing before Waze announced he and Dank are going to run for MEPs.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry, this has gone off topic.
Right, well, okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wrap this up because AA's cigar stream just started, and I love the cigar stream. So I highly recommend that everyone go over to the cigar stream from my channel. It is a hell of a good time, and even though AA does not talk as openly about being a nationalist like me, I certainly believe he is, and he has, like me, he is ANCAP at heart, but he doesn't let that get the best of him too much. So he has the cigar stream on Friday nights. It's going live. Also,
it's live right now.
Later tonight, in a few hours, there is Chuck Martell's Garage Party. And I am also going to be sharing that in just a second, which I would love for you guys to all come by and be on because I'm going to be on it as well. I go on the Garage Party every Friday night, and that's over on Jason Kuna's channel. That is for later. That is in 3 hours from now, which should be just after AA's cigar stream.
Those links you're sharing, I'm just getting video unavailable, so I think they might be behind a wall for people.
No,
really?
I'm watching AA stream right now.
No, those are public. Those are public links, dude. They work.
Oh, well, for me, I'm getting video unavailable. I don't know what that
well,
is.
I'm
but,
sorry you're retarded. We're going to move on.
I'll DM you. I'll DM you on Discord.
We have cleared all of the question widget over on Entropy. Thank you, everyone who donated. Thank you very much, Sin of Pride, especially for that fantastic $110 donation. Thank you very much. I really hope to see all of you next week for perhaps an even better stream. Thank you for our guest, Zen, for coming by. And I will turn it back over now to Zen. Anything you want to say as we wrap up and move over to AA's stream?
No, it's been lovely having a good talk. I've enjoyed Kizza educating me on historical, for someone of my age, economics.
I know,
right.
I'm basically a boomer, so...
All right, Cardinal, anything you want to share?
No, just go out, make families, make babies, do the right thing.
Support your local businesses. Keep your businesses alive, for the love of God.
Yes. Indeed.
All right. Yes. And for the love of God, let's all go have fun over on AA's channel, okay?
Oh,
hey.
all right.
All right. Thank you again, everyone. We'll see you next week at the same time. Goodbye.
Take care, Ro.
Astus.